Good afternoon, everyone. Sharice Jervis-Hill here, president and founder of Events to Remember and PR to Remember. I have a treat for you. This to me is like a girl power. Like I'm just so excited to have Lata here today with us. So please welcome Lata McGinn. She is the co-founder of Cognitive and Behavioral Consultants and the co-founder and vice president of Access Psychology Foundation. And she'll go into her other accolades, and she's just pretty amazing. So Lata, welcome to Coffee with Cher. I'm so happy to have you here with me this afternoon.
Therese, it's such a pleasure to happy to be here. I'm just so excited to be here. It's amazing all the things you do,
Oh,
including this podcast. So I'm thrilled.
thank you. So Lata, we have to start with our little afternoon cheers.
All
So
right.
cheers to you.
Cheers to you.
I have some coffee in my cup because I run on coffee. What about you? Anything exciting in that mug?
I drink tea.
Tea drinker, okay.
Yep, it's got milk and sugar. I drink only black tea. So, but with milk and sugar, not herbal tea. So that's what it has.
All right, that sounds good. All right, so let's get into it, Lata. So I want you to take a minute, tell us a little bit about your journey. I want you to kind of talk about what led you to be a founder and really kind of creating access to proven successful mental health, because you've done this in just so many different ways. And I really want you to tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. Yeah. So I think, as you said, I'm a clinical psychologist. I'm a professor of psychology at Yeshiva University as well. And
Mhm.
I did my internship. I graduated with a PhD from Fordham University.
Mhm.
So I was in the Bronx, and then I did my internship at Montefiore Medical Center at Albert Einstein College of Medicine.
Mhm.
So over there, I was doing a lot of work with people who lived, who were some of the poorest of the poorest. And I think it helped me to see what the need was. And I
Mhm.
think part of being a founder is seeing what's important to you, not of course, but also to see what's not, see what you want to change, to have
Mhm.
a vision for what you want to build,
Mhm.
and sort of the idea that there is these amazing evidence-based mental health treatments that I was very interested in. And
Mhm.
at the time, very few people were doing it. So at that time, I was interested in building something um, that would serve that need, if you will, right? To
Mhm.
serve the need of, with so many people with mental health conditions, the idea that there wasn't something that would contribute to that mission. And so that's always, I guess, been my mission to
Mhm.
to disseminate evidence-based treatments, mental health treatments. So there, I founded a clinic in the Bronx,
Mhm.
to serve the Bronx County, to provide them with evidence-based treatments.
Mhm.
I also, with my partner Alec Miller, founded Cognitive and Behavioral Consultants, as you mentioned,
Yeah.
because it didn't matter what segment of society you were from, you still did not get it. So that was the need I think we both felt pretty passionately about, and we built that and been going. This is our 20th year, actually.
Amazing.
Um, and that allowed us to bring it to more and more people, and I
Mhm.
think where the Access Psychology Foundation comes in is that we still felt that for the large majority of people, that wasn't enough. And so even at CBC, which is Cognitive and Behavioral Consultants, we started to do trainings. We started to train people in schools and organizations because it felt like if we just saw our own patients, it wouldn't really go far enough.
Mhm.
So we're still seeing patients at there, and then we started doing trainings for individuals and schools, organizations. And then we found that both in terms of therapy and in terms of training, that it was available to people who could afford it. You know,
Yeah.
that was one observation. And I think one observation was that there were not enough people of color who were psychologists.
Mhm.
So it felt that that gap needed to be addressed. And I think, so this is something that we've been thinking for a while, actually, but I think when 2020 occurred, I think Alec and I looked at each other and said, well, this is the time. You know,
Yeah.
this is even before people realized there was a mental health tsunami going on. It was more us thinking this is going to happen. You know, people are going to be home,
Yeah.
not being able to go outside the house. There's not going to be social interaction, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it felt that that was going to happen. So we thought that this is the best time to do it when the need is so high. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that is the mission of the Access Psychology Foundation, which is to provide training to people who want to train in evidence-based treatments
Mm-hmm.
and would like to go into the field, because often the economic means are a barrier.
Mm-hmm.
So in addition to that, we are also doing a lot of outreach to people of color.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we've done things like bring uh, undergraduate interns into CBC so that we can get people interested so that they can, you know, in the future. And so people who are um, interested in the field. And so I think it's sort of both. You have to not only offer the training and have the Access Psychology pay for it, but also to bring people, like, how do you know about it? And I think eventually we want to go back to high school and get people in high school interested. So I think there's a lot more to do there, but I think to answer your question, I think it is thinking of what you like, thinking of what, you know, your passion is, but also thinking of what is the need there that needs to be fulfilled, even if it's a future need, and then building that, I think, is what helps in being a founder of something, you know.
You know, and I also want to touch on the fact that you mentioned, you know, having a person of color, right? We don't have enough.
Yeah,
You know, being a Bronx girl, that's me. You know, I grew up in the South Bronx, and it's representation matters, right?
yeah,
People want to
absolutely.
see, you know, young girls, people of color. You want to see someone that looks like you in these different roles. So
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, so
Absolutely.
I just love that that is you know, that that's so important at Access Psychology Foundation. And I also love that you guys go into the schools. You know, I love that, you know, the training is happening in the schools. I had the pleasure of being at Democracy Prep and just to kind of see a little bit of that training. And it was like it was really incredible.
Yeah, no, I think it feels very good to be able to do that. And I think to your comment about the people of color, you know, and I think it's not the case that when you get treatment that you have to be treated by your same race. It's going to
Mhm.
work no matter what. But I
Exactly.
think, but I think, as you said, a representation matters, but also if there's you know, a stigma in certain communities to going into mental health, it also helps with seeing, well, okay, so that's someone who is from my culture, and I can identify with that person, and it almost breaks the taboo of going to
Mhm.
treatment, right? So I think it's so important to do that.
Yeah. Oh, such good stuff. Lada, and I think you kind of touched on this already, you know, what sets you apart from, you know, from others in your industry. I mean, I feel like with CBC and APF, I feel like you mentioned 10 things already that really kind of set you apart from others. But is there anything else you want to add to that?
No, I think happens, and I think it's almost like opening your mind to what there could be, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and what the possibility is for the future, and the excitement of building something, I think, is part of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I thinking it also takes some curiosity to say, well, why isn't there that? You know, well, why
Mm-hmm.
doesn't that exist? You know, and so it's sort of it's allowing yourself to know, to try to find out what you don't know, I think
Mm-hmm.
really helps. You know, so I'm also the president currently of the World Confederation of CBT, and that was an organization I also initially founded.
Mm-hmm.
And so it didn't exist. And so I remember thinking, well, why doesn't that exist? It doesn't make any sense, you know? So it's almost like thinking, well, what's going on, right? So it's that, I think that allows you to then build something, right?
Mm-hmm.
So just that curiosity, you know, of something.
Yes, definitely. Um, So is there anything new that's happening at CBC or APF? Anything going on that you want to share? Anything new that's coming up?
Well, I think, in terms of what I completed recently, I think I was, doing trainings for school professionals in two Harlem communities in New York, and that was
Mhm.
really very meaningful because it it is, I think one is in West Harlem, New York, and one is in East Harlem, New York, and
Mhm.
the training involved training teachers to deliver a mental health curriculum in schools. And so that really has been very exciting. So that's what I'm looking forward to going up as well, because I think, providing teachers with the resources, and I think initially teachers might have said in the past, like, why should I do it? Like, why am I dealing with mental health? And I think the issue is because it's there and because it's preventing you from teaching,
Yeah.
right? So it's sort of now teachers are much more open because I think they're finding that, wow, I need to get through these kids. Like I can't even teach, it's preventing me from being an effective teacher. So I think that openness has been such a good partnership. And I think as I learned this while training these teachers was that they found that these skills benefited them
That's what I was
because
thinking.
they're so burnt out, right? And so this allows them to also use these skills on themselves, which is what I do as well,
Mhm.
right? So I love doing cognitive behavior therapy because I apply it to myself as well. So these are skills of like life skills that you can use. And I think what struck me most about that experience was how much I learned from the teachers.
Mm.
So it's sort of, it allows you. So I think before I started that whole project of, it's called the Mind Action Mood Program, where
Mhm.
I do a training. And so I did a qualitative examination. I first went into a school and said, well, what do you need?
Mhm.
What are your needs actually? Because you want to hear from people with the lived experiences on
Mhm.
what they see as needs, not just what we see as what we think their needs are. So I think and so that was very helpful, but in consulting with them throughout, once I finished training them, I think it became very clear that they also had, comments about it, so it allows the project to then evolve and develop. So I think what I'm very excited to use their feedback to build it further,
Mhm.
and that was very rewarding, and it was humbling as well to see how much I learned from them.
That's we're never, too old to learn. There's always we're never learning should be something every day. And
Yeah.
even with all of your experience, it's good to hear all of your experience, everything that you've accomplished that, you're still learning from the people that you're providing. You're giving to them
Yes.
and they're giving back into you. You're pouring into them and they're pouring into you.
Yes. It's
Um,
always a partnership. It's always a partnership.
yeah, yeah. And when you mentioned about, the teachers and this training, the first thing that I thought about, I could understand maybe some resistance there, but just some tools in their toolbox that they can then
Yeah.
use to just, so I think it's an incredible partnership and I'm
Yeah.
sure that you're getting a lot of joy in that.
Very much so. Very much so. Uh,
So, my last question and my favorite question, is really just to kind of, as we talked about pouring into others, and, I get so much joy from this question because the nuggets that come out are just, they're just so helpful and they apply to everyone. What advice would you give to someone who is just starting out? Any thoughts, Lotta, anything that pops in your
yeah.
head?
Yeah. I mean, I guess I would say it's always good to be interested in what you do, of course, and I
Mm-hmm.
think I think it's knowing that getting an idea is not worth very much, though, until you do the work. So it
Mm.
requires a lot of work, you know. It took a long time to build the Access Psychology Foundation. It took a long time to build the World Confederation. So I think you have to have patience. You have to be able to do the hard work. And I think overall, I think what's really helped me is to always be able to say, I don't know,
Mm.
so please tell me, and sort of if I don't know something, I try to find out, right? So why doesn't this happen? Or or who can I learn from, or how do I get better at this? So I think that always knowing, I think what you said, that learning is a journey, and you're going to be learning for your whole life. And I think that goes back to the curiosity. You have to have the curiosity and the humility to say, I don't know, but I want to find out and I want to get there, you know. So
Great nuggets, Lata. Thank you so much. Any parting words, anything you want to share? And then I definitely want folks to visit the Access Psychology Foundation Instagram, because I remember on World Mental Health Day, you left 3 wellness tips that are so helpful. And I actually sent it to my daughters. They were, one of my youngest daughters, a new teacher. And my oldest daughter, she was having a rough day at work, and I sent them both on Instagram, and I'm like, listen to these tips, so help. And then they both, obviously they don't respond, but they did
yeah.
the heart, Lata. So that's pretty impressive.
I'm glad they responded to you. I just sent a text to my daughter. I'm like, did you get my text?
So I want to share for folks to make sure that you go Access Psych Foundation on Instagram, and you'll see, just flip back to World Mental Health Day. Lata did 3 great tips that I think will be helpful for you. Anything else, Lata, you want to share, or where can folks find you?
Yeah, I would say that, I would say if you believe in the mission of the Access Psychology Foundation, join us, partner with us. We're excited to have you contribute, anything that you feel that you can do to contribute to the mission of this wonderful organization, I think would be very, very meaningful. So I invite you to come and join us.
Awesome. Thank you, Lata. I know you are busy.
All
So
right.
I'm going to let you get back to work. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing
Thank
those
you.
nuggets with
Thank
our
you,
listeners.
Cherise. Thank you,
And
Cherise.
it was a pleasure.
Have a wonderful afternoon.
All right, you too.